So let me start with the introduction, because as, for example, the Polish League stands Wendell Williams, but we know you as a CJ. So
yes.
can you explain this? Yeah.
So basically, my father, his name is Wendell, and I'm named after him. And he has a nickname back home, and it's Curry, like the seasoning, like the curry seasoning. And
not like Steph Curry.
No, not like Steph Curry.
Because he's much older.
Yeah. But I'm just Curry Jr., so that's why I go by CJ.
I see.
Yeah.
So I can call you unique type of player. I am not talking about what happens on the court, but about your career, because usually when player goes to the NBA, it's just after the college. And
yes.
You went to Europe, and it was not even, you didn't even start with the top leagues. It was like Cyprus and then others, and climbed the ladder. So do you think it was kind of unique, and that doesn't happen to many?
I believe that it's very unique, especially when I did it. Social media was not as big as it is now. And so when I was able to do it, it was a little harder because the teams didn't know anything about European basketball, overseas basketball. So it was kind of one of those things where I had to work from the bottom up. And my agent and I, when I first came from college, we came up with a 5-year plan. And gratefully it worked.
It worked.
Yeah, so after 5 years, I was able to put myself in a situation. I went to training camp with the Mavericks, and I got to be there and see some of the NBA style and the NBA preparation and everything. And yeah, it ended up working out the next season.
And of course, playing for the national team helped, because you were at the 2017 America Cup. And when the Team USA, I don't know if it was D team, E team, doesn't matter. Because, of course, it wasn't the top player, because there wasn't even any NBA players. But you played versus Argentina with all the top players, and
unfortunately, Luis Scola didn't play that game, but we played against Nico Persino, Campasso.
So you think that at that time the NBA noticed that, okay, these guys can play at the top level? I mean,
yes, I think that helped us a lot. A lot of the guys from that team ended up in the NBA or ended up, top level Euro League or Euro Cup or whatever. And I think that was part of like what propelled us to that spot, because we showed ourselves very well against a great national team.
So you spent 2 seasons in the NBA, 2 different teams, Clippers and Timberwolves, and you had opportunity to be like in 2, let's say, interesting seasons. A lot happened, and you played with. So we could talk for an hour, but I wonder which player you played with made biggest impression on you. I'm not even talking about who is the best, but there were so many different players between Blake Griffin and Karl Anthony Towns. Even guys like Boban Marjanovic is, let's say, unique. So who you remember?
It's difficult to say one, because each person that I encountered in the NBA taught me something different. An example, Patrick Beverley taught me how to work. He hasn't always been known as the most talented or whatever, but he worked so hard to be in the NBA for such a long time. And he was also one that went to Europe first. And then like Lou Williams taught me the confidence to play each and every game, thinking every shot was going in, thinking that, if I get to the spots that I'm comfortable with, I can do whatever I want. Blake Griffin taught me that, athleticism isn't everything. You have to learn how to continue to develop your game and change your game to adapt to the new time, because the game is always changing. The game is always, becoming a little bit different in some way, and stuff like that. From my Minnesota team, Karl Anthony Towns, he taught me to be, happy with what you're doing, enjoy being in the moment. I could go on and on, but there was it's hard to place one, because there were so many people that had an influence.
And how about Jimmym Butler? Because I know, you probably know the story I want to ask you about.
Yes.
Because there was this, let's say, this was a scrimmage.
The practice,
He took the story is about he took the, let's say, the reserves to play against starting five because there was some
that was us.
fight between team and the Timberwolves and the coach, and that his team won. And you were on that team, yeah?
Yes, I was on that team. Yeah.
What was like?
It was amazing. You know, the thing I learned from that practice was that you don't always have to impact the game by just scoring. It's not talked about enough, but in that scrimmage, yes, we did beat them very badly, but Jimmy only took one shot, and the rest of us were the ones that were shooting, but he was impacting the game. Talking on defense, you know, being in the right spot defensively, rebounding, you know, driving the lane, making the right play, making the right pass and stuff like that. So that's something that I definitely learned from that, is that if you're not scoring, there's so many other things that you can do in basketball to affect the game.
I also ask about Jimmy because we know that, let's say, a couple of days, weeks ago, what happened in Miami, and when you watch this from Poland and basically follow this, I've already seen that. So is it similar? And like,
I think it was a little bit different. I think, excuse me, sorry. I think with the Minnesota situation, there was a little bit of disconnect between him and the team because of, you know, wanting to feel appreciated. I think he didn't feel appreciated in Minnesota. And you could say maybe it's the same thing with Miami, but I don't have any inside information or anything like that. But from my perspective, knowing Jimmy himself and knowing from the outside looking in, I think it's just he wants to feel appreciated. And
so he's not a bad guy, like it's
no, he's not a bad guy. He's actually one of my favorite teammates.
I want to show you two clips from your time in the NBA.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be an interesting one because you said about being confident and that every shot could go in.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah, I remember this.
Because that's a game when you hit the game winner.
Yes,
and
I remember that.
The situation is that there are like 10 seconds left and you got the ball.
Yes.
And you could pass the ball to, let's say...
Yeah, back to Lou Will, like I should have. I probably should have done that.
So...
You know, in that moment, it was more of instinct than anything. I wasn't thinking or anything like that. You know, all I remember is Doc drew up the play. I was supposed to be in the corner. And I remember our principal, if somebody takes a shot, if you're in the corner, you run through the free throw line. So I'm running through the free throw line, and that's when I see Wes grab the rebound. And when he grabs it, I just like yelled his name. And then when I got the ball, I'm not gonna lie, in my head I'm like, oh crap, I have the ball. And then after that, I looked at Lou Will for a split second, and Ersan Ilyasova was denying him fully. So then I was like, I have to make a play. And so I just went into something that I was comfortable with. And when I got the shot off, when I let it go, I knew it was good. Like I could feel how the ball felt coming off my hands, you know.
I see. I wonder because what would your current coach, Coach Kamiński, say if you took the shot with such a similar situation, or other coaches in Europe?
They might not like that shot.
Even if you make it.
I remember, of course, they'll love it if you make it. I remember when I took the shot, I actually watched it back one time, and I paid attention to the bench, and all my coaches were kind of like, what is he doing? They were kind of looking at me like, what is he doing? Except for Doc. Doc was kind of more like he kind of wanted, he enjoyed that because he wanted me to just play. But some of the assistant coaches I could tell were kind of like, what is he doing? And
but the question was about, was leading to the other question about the differences between coaching in the NBA and here.
Yeah.
Is it noticeable difference that there's?
I would say it's a lot more structure in Europe. In the NBA,
I'm not even talking about the knowledge of the coaches or something like that.
Right.
Because it's.
But it's more they're more hands-on when it comes to development, like individual player development. You know, in the NBA you have so many coaches on the bench that you have your own individual coach for your position. Then you have your own individual coach as a rookie or a veteran or whatever. And so you kind of have someone there to constantly help you develop your game and everything. And obviously the same resources aren't in Europe and on most teams. And so it's a little bit different. Coach is more of like a manager, and he kind of has to, you know, keep everything organized, which you get used to it and everything like that. But I definitely enjoyed, you know, having my own individual coach in the NBA.
Yeah, so other clip, and that would be like one of the last questions, but when you Google CJ Williams, you
the Steven Adams thing.
like 10 clips of your exchange with Steven Adams.
Yeah.
When he was trying to kill you or something.
Yeah.
And is he the scariest guy in the NBA? And
yeah.
were you really so afraid?
So okay, I was nervous because I didn't know what happened.
There was a look on your face that yeah, you were kind of like what happened? I'm kind of scared.
No, so basically what happened, he was coming down in transition. I was getting back. I went to box him out. He didn't see me, and he kind of turned his ankle. So he was upset, and he kind of looked around, and that's when I remember I saw Paul George kind of pointed at me. So that's why he charged at me. And I was just confused because I just remember just going for a box out. So I was kind of looking like, what is he approaching me for? And then he kind of just asked me like, what was I trying to do or anything? And I'm like, Steven, like, I'm not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And if you see the interview after the game, he tells the media like he was just angry in the moment and he didn't know what happened and he just wanted to approach me about it.
So one last question about the current situation in Lublin. You are closer to the end of the career. And what is the motivation of a player like you? Because you managed to climb the ladder, play in the NBA. Obviously, you aren't going to make it to like EuroLeague right now. So how do you find the motivation week by week?
You have to stay in the moment. You know, sometimes we get so, and this is for me, it's a life lesson. We get so worried about the future, worried about what is next, that we don't enjoy what we're doing in the moment. You know, I enjoy being around my teammates, you know, playing with these guys. Like, I'm here, yes, you know, I've seen the top of the top. I've been to the NBA. You know, obviously, it would be a blessing if I got a chance to go to EuroLeague. It's not likely, but, you know, it would be a blessing. But at the same time, like, being here, I have to, we say in the U.S., be where your 2 feet are. So I'm here in Poland. I signed the contract. I want to do my job, and I still have a love and a desire to play the game. So that's what motivates me every day.
And do you feel like this OG in this team that
of course
leads by maybe not by scoring, but like has a voice in locker room?
You know, this is the first season I've been the oldest person on the team. I've always had guys older than me, but now I see that I'm the oldest guy, and you know, it is what it is.
Especially if so many Americans who probably look, oh, this guy was in the NBA, so he knows more.
Yeah, and you know, they ask me questions and stuff like that about the NBA and about, you know, what I've seen and stuff like that. And I feel like that's part of my purpose for being here, is to help other people, you know, grow in the game of basketball.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really nice to talk to you.
Thank you.